If you enjoy camping or hiking, then this story is going to send chills down your spine, because what happened to us is something I have never been able to explain in detail to anyone until now. The story begins with me, Hamza, Awais, Bilal, Sana and Marham. We were all university friends. By now, everyone had settled into their own jobs, but we still had one tradition. We made sure to go on a trip together at least once every year. This time, we planned a camping trip near Naran, at a remote location far away from the usual tourist routes. Awais's uncle had a friend in the forest department who told us about a place that didn't even appear on tourist maps. Its name was Kala Maidan, the Black Meadow. When we asked Awais why the place had such a strange name, he laughed and said, probably because the soil is black, or maybe there was a forest fire there long ago. We left Lahore during the night and reached Naran early the next morning. From there, a local guide named Remat Khan, a man in his 50s, led us to the trail that would take us to Kala Maidan. From the very beginning, Remat Khan behaved strangely. The moment we mentioned our destination, the colour seemed to drain from his face.
"Why do you want to go there?" he asked. "We just want to camp. It's peaceful and away from the crowds," Bilal replied. Remat Khan remained silent for a few moments before saying, "All right, but listen carefully. Set up your tents before sunset and never wander outside alone at night. Most importantly," he looked at each of us as though he was about to reveal something truly serious. "If you hear someone calling your name during the night, do not answer." Some of us laughed nervously, but Sana asked seriously, "Why? Is there a dangerous animal around here?" Remat Khan simply replied, "If it were an animal, that would be better." Then he explained the rest of the route and left. We were confused, but our excitement kept us from taking his warnings seriously. After all, every trip seemed to come with some local ghost story. We assumed this was just another one. The trail was beautiful. Dense pine forests, cool mountain air, and endless stretches of wilderness. After nearly 4 hours of hiking, we finally arrived at Kala Maidan. Honestly, it was breathtaking. A vast open meadow surrounded by towering trees. A strip of dark soil ran through its centre, which probably explained its name. A small stream flowed along one side, and as the sun began to set, golden light covered the entire clearing. Marham smiled and said, "Why do people call this place Kala Maidan? It should be called Golden Meadow." We pitched our tents, gathered firewood, and lit a campfire as darkness settled over the forest. Dinner was prepared, songs were sung, and old memories were shared. Everything felt perfectly normal. Bilal had brought his guitar, and Awais, as always, turned every little thing into a joke. Sana and Marham spent hours stargazing. There was no light pollution at all, and the night sky was overflowing with stars, more beautiful than anything we had ever seen before. We pitched our tents, gathered firewood, and lit a campfire as darkness settled over the forest. Dinner was prepared, songs were sung, and old memories were shared. Everything felt perfectly normal. Bilal had brought his guitar, and Awais, as always, turned every little thing into a joke. Sana and Marham spent hours stargazing. There was no light pollution at all, and the night sky was overflowing with stars, more beautiful than anything we had ever seen before. Around 11 o'clock, while we sat around the campfire, Oasis grinned and said, "Come on, let's tell a horror story. The atmosphere is absolutely perfect." Everyone agreed. Oasis began telling a typical haunted house story he had read somewhere. But before he could finish it, something happened that none of us would ever forget. From deep within the forest, far away in the darkness, a voice called out, "Hamza." My name. Clear, distinct, unmistakable. At first, I thought Bilal or Oasis was playing a prank on me, but both of them were sitting right in front of me, and both were staring at me as if they had heard it too. "Did you guys hear that?" I asked. Everyone nodded. Maham looked especially disturbed. "Maybe it's another camper?" Bilal suggested, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. We fell silent and listened carefully. Nothing. Only the ordinary sounds of the forest at night, the chirping of insects and the rustling of leaves in the wind. "It's probably just the wind," Oasis said, trying to lighten the mood. "Or maybe someone from a mountain village looking for a friend." We all accepted that explanation because it was easier to believe. But Ramat Khan's warning kept echoing in my mind. If someone calls your name, do not answer. I didn't tell anyone how frightened I really was. By morning, we were laughing about it. We convinced ourselves that strange sounds were normal in a forest at night. We spent the entire day exploring the stream, taking photographs and hiking around the area. Everything seemed normal and pleasant. By evening, we returned to camp, prepared dinner, and lit the campfire once again. But this time, something was different. The tents were exactly as we had left them, but around the ashes of the previous night's fire, on the dark soil, there was a circle. A perfect circle. It looked as though someone had deliberately drawn it. We were surprised, but eventually assumed that one of us must have made it without remembering. That night, everyone was far more cautious. Sana suggested that we should sleep early, but Oasis refused. "If we start acting scared and go to bed early, we'll ruin the whole trip," he said. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, we all retired to our tents. Bilal and I shared one tent. Oasis slept alone in another. Sana and Maham shared the third. I was half asleep when I became aware. Then, in a voice so soft that at first it sounded like the wind itself, someone whispered, "Bilal, come outside." The sun rose. Birds began singing. And once again, everything seemed normal. When we stepped outside, we found Oasis sitting beside his tent, making tea as if nothing had happened. "You okay?" I asked. "Of course," he replied with a smile. "Why wouldn't I be?" I told him about the footsteps and the voice we had heard during the night. He looked at me strangely. "I don't remember any of that," he said. "I went to sleep and stayed asleep." But there was something odd about him. Dark circles had appeared beneath his eyes, and when I looked closer, I noticed that his feet were covered in black dirt, as though he had been walking barefoot outside. "Oasis, your feet," Sana said. She had noticed it too. Oasis looked down. For a brief moment, genuine confusion crossed his face, as though he himself had no idea how the dirt got there. Then he laughed it off. "I probably got up for water during the night and forgot about it." None of us were truly convinced, but we accepted the explanation. Later, Sana pulled me aside. "Hamza," she said quietly, "I don't like this place. I think we should leave today." I discussed it with Bilal and Owais. None of us were truly convinced, but we accepted the explanation. Later, Sana pulled me aside. "Hamza," she said quietly, "I don't like this place. I think we should leave today." I discussed it with Bilal and Owais.
Before sunset, we packed most of our belongings so that we could leave quickly in the morning. Nobody said much. Each of us carried a strange sense of unease that we couldn't properly explain. The campfire was lit again, but this time there were no songs, no stories, no laughter. We simply sat there in silence, staring into the flames. Around 10 o'clock, Maham suddenly stood up. "I think I just saw someone over there," she said, pointing toward the trees across the stream. We all turned to look. At first, there was nothing. Then I saw it too. A figure, a tall, thin shadow, standing motionless among the trees. It looked like a person watching us, but there was something terribly wrong about its height. Its head was far too high above the ground, much higher than any normal human being. "What is that?" Bilal whispered. The figure moved slightly. It tilted its head as if it were examining us, watching us. Then, with calm, impossibly long strides, it stepped backward into the darkness and disappeared.
No one spoke. Our hearts pounded violently in our chests. Finally, Owais spoke. But his voice...
I think I need to go. Go where? Sana asked nervously. Owais stood up. His eyes were fixed on the forest where the shadow had vanished. He wasn't looking at us anymore. "They are calling me," he said. Bilal grabbed his arm. "Owais, sit down. What are you talking about?" But Owais pulled away with such force that Bilal stumbled backward and fell. Then Owais began walking toward the forest. We ran after him, but suddenly his pace became impossibly fast, far too fast for a normal person. "Owais!" I shouted. "Stop!" For a brief second he turned and looked at me, and what I saw on his face is something I will never forget. His eyes, they were glowing red, and his smile, it didn't look like his smile anymore. It looked as though something else had taken control of him, and then he disappeared into the darkness of the forest. The four of us, Bilal, Sana, Maham, and I, grabbed our flashlights and ran after Owais, but the dense undergrowth of the forest made it nearly impossible to move quickly. We kept shouting his name. "Owais! Owais, where are you?" But there was no response. No birds, no animals, nothing. The entire forest had fallen silent. We were all running towards Owais's voice, but I never actually heard Owais speaking. We stopped. She was right.
Ever since Owais had stood up and walked away, he hadn't said a single word, not one. So whose voice had we been following? A horrible realization struck me. Perhaps we had mistaken the sounds of our own breathing and footsteps for his voice because fear had clouded our minds. Or perhaps something else had been leading us deeper into the forest. Maham began to cry. Bilal tried to comfort her, but his own hands were shaking. "We need to go back to camp," I said. "If we keep wandering around in the dark, we'll get lost too. In the morning, we'll contact the forest department and organize a proper search party." None of us wanted to abandon Owais. The thought felt unbearable, but we knew that continuing through the darkness would be suicide. When we finally returned to camp, everything appeared exactly as we had left it, except for one thing.
Oasis' tent. A faint light was glowing from inside, but none of us had left a lantern or flashlight there.
Slowly and cautiously we approached. Bilal reached forward and carefully unzipped the tent. There was no one inside, but Oasis' phone was lying on the ground. The screen was illuminated. A photograph was open. It was a picture we had taken on our first night, the one showing the strange circle around the campfire ashes. But now, as we looked closer, we noticed something we had never seen before. Inside the circle, written in the dark soil, as though someone had scratched the words into the ground with their fingers, the message read, "One will come, the others will return." The blood drained from our faces. Sana stared at the photograph. "So that means—" "It means," Bilal said quietly, as if trying to convince himself, "that this place has done this before. Maybe it always takes one person." The final hours of the night. None of us slept. All four of us crowded into a single tent, sitting shoulder to shoulder with our flashlights turned on, waiting desperately for dawn. Around 3 in the morning, we heard it again. This time it was right outside the tent. "Hamza, Bilal, Sana, Maham." One by one our names were called in Oasis' voice. Then came another whisper. "Let me in. It's so cold out here." Maham burst into tears, but Sana grabbed her arm tightly and whispered into her ear, "Don't answer. Remember what Ramat Khan said. Don't answer." So we remained silent. None of us moved. None of us spoke. We sat there clutching one another while the voice continued outside the tent for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, it faded away. The last thing we heard was a faint laugh echoing through the forest, a laugh that grew more distant with every passing second, as though something was amused by our fear. Finally, morning came. The moment the first rays of sunlight appeared, we packed our tents and fled. We didn't look back even once. The trail felt much longer than it ever had before. After nearly 2 exhausting hours, we reached the place where Ramat Khan had left us. He was sitting there, waiting.
As if he had known we would return. The moment he saw us, he lowered his head. His expression didn't change at all. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I warned you." As we walked toward the vehicle, struggling to hold back our tears, he finally told us what he should have told us from the beginning. "Black Meadow was once a settlement," he said, "a very long time ago, back in the days of my great-grandmother's ancestors. A tribe used to live there." He paused. "One night, a terrible fire swept through the village. The entire settlement burned to ashes." His voice grew softer. "The people say the souls of those who died there still wander the meadow. They are searching for a way to live again." "What do you mean by live again?" I asked, my voice trembling. Ramat Khan looked at me. "Every few years, when people camp there, the spirits take one life." We listened in silence. "They say that if someone willingly walks toward them, just like your friend did, the spirits claim that person's soul. In exchange, they bring one of their own back to life." He swallowed hard. "But only for a little while. After that, the revived person turns to ashes again, and the spirits begin searching for another victim." Sana's voice broke. "So, Awais, your friend is with them now," Ramat Khan said quietly. "I know it's difficult to hear, but if you go back looking for him, you won't survive either. That place only takes those who answer the call and walk toward it." Then he looked at us carefully. "You are fortunate. The rest of you never answered." Tears filled my eyes. "If you knew all this," I asked, "why did you let us go there?" For the first time, I saw genuine pain in his face. "Son, every year people come from the cities and tell me these are just stories.
He sighed. I cannot physically stop them. The forest department doesn't listen either. They think I'm superstitious. He looked away. The only thing I can do is warn them. The choice is always theirs. The return home. The four of us returned to Lahore, but none of us were the same people anymore. We filed a missing person report with the police. What else could we do? How could we possibly explain what had happened? We simply told them that Awais had left the tent during the night and disappeared somewhere in the forest. A search operation was launched. Tracking dogs were brought in. Teams searched the area for 3 weeks, but they found nothing. No body, no clothing, no trace whatsoever. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. Even today, Awais's parents still believe he is alive somewhere. They believe he got lost.
They believe one day he will find his way home. And to this day, I have never had the courage to tell them the truth. Because deep down, I know that Awais is never coming back.